Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I'm Kelli Thompson. I'm a leadership coach and speaker. And thanks for joining me again for another Career Clarity and Confidence Live on Tuesday. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is how to have more confidence while speaking up. I work with so many women, and I spent over 15 years in the training industry. And so I would get this question a lot because as you accelerate more in the organization, being able to present and have good, solid, confident public speaking skills, getting a message across in a really short time frame is really important. And so, people ask, "Oh my gosh, like how do you get comfortable presenting? How do you stop getting splotchy neck and just, can you give me tips to show up with more executive presence?" Which we'll talk a little bit more about what that actually means here in a little bit. But today, I want to talk with you more about sharing my best tips for how to speak with clarity and confidence, how you can get a clear message across. By the end of this conversation, I'm hoping that you walk away with knowing how to tell your audience exactly what you want and what you're going to tell them and what you're looking for, how to organize your message into key points, and then how to do that with confidence. So, if you have more questions and you're watching me live or whether you're watching this on replay, I would love for you to just ask them in the comments because I know there's lots of little nuances about, how do I do this? What happens when I do this? How do I arrange this or say this? I would just love to hear them. So, yeah, ask away. Oh, hey, Ashley. I was a little late today too because I was talking with a client and our conversation was so good, and so I popped on a little late today too. So we are late together. So thank you for coming. So I think a really good example of this is a few weeks ago, I was working with one of my clients, and she's fairly new to the organization. She's an awesome leader. She was getting ready to present her team's strategic request, strategic plan, their ask for resources to her leader and her leader's leader. I think y'all know how this works in a meeting because, it's the end of the year if you're watching this live. And so, folks, leaders are going to sometimes the executive committee or whoever it is to present their strategic plan and ask for money. It's that time of year. We got to ask for money in corporate. And being new to this organization, she wanted another set of eyes on her presentation. And so, since we're in a coaching relationship, she sent me her presentation and I sent a video back. I took a look at it, I gave my feedback. And I think one of the things that's really common when we get time with our executives is that we want them to know all of the things. I'm going to give you all of the details. I'm going to give you all of the data. I want to shove it all into 30 minutes so I can tell you everything that you know. And I think that that the higher that you get up into leadership, kind of the shorter your time has to be to where you can make impact. And so it's really important to be super clear and super concise. And so that's my first tip. And I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. I'm going to tell you exactly the 4 tips that I'm going to be sharing with you today. Because again, my goal is that you're going to walk away with knowing how to deliver a clear message, how to be concise and on point, how to make people feel the way you want them to feel so they can take the action you want them to take, and how to deliver that with confidence. So the 4 things are: be clear, how to be concise, how to be client focused. In this case, your client can be an internal or an external client, and how to be confident. And so the first question I asked her when I was helping her go through this deck that was going to be presenting her strategic plan, the work that they'd done so far, the future planning and the future goals of her team, and then what resources they would need, is I asked her to be clear. Question number 1 for you is, what do you want people to do at the end of your meeting or at the end of your presentation? That is the first question that you have to answer. So that way you can have kind of a clear, linear plan of how you're speaking up. So, question number 1 is to be clear. Answer the question, what do I want people to do at the end of this meeting? And so, when I was talking with my client, what she said, she goes, I want them to give me money for headcount. And I said, perfect. Okay. So then that kind of gives us, right, this kind of red thread for how we're going to align your entire conversation. Because if your goal is, I need to get headcount, I need to get resources. And at a secondary level, she was really asking for their support. She's like, I want to show them what we're doing so that when we roll out this plan in 2022, I have their support. Like they understand why it matters and how it's connected. But at the end of the day, she's like, I really need resources. Okay, so step one, be clear. What outcome do you want from this meeting? Say it. Just tell people, this is what I'm hoping for at the end of this meeting, because people are horrible guessers. Sometimes I think we like to tiptoe around things because, like, oh, I don't know if I want to come out and just say that I need headcount. Just tell them, I need headcount. I need resources, right? That way, nobody's guessing. People are horrible guessers. And so it's a great way to get everyone on the same page. So the second one is to be concise. So growing up in the training profession, I've learned that if you have like an hour-long presentation, it's great if you can keep it to three things. My um, best practice is one topic for every 15 minutes you have. So if I'm giving an hour-long training, I'm giving them three things. You're going to learn A, B, and C. And so that's why it's really important to be very clear and concise about, exactly what three things you're going to be covering, in an hours-ish time. If you have to cram that like into 30 minutes, you're going to have to be even more concise if it's something that you have to get across. But I think that's a great way to even organize your message. Open the meeting. Just tell them what you're going to tell them. Today, I'm going to cover the strategic plan. I'm going to talk about future goals. I'm going to ask for the resources I need. Just tell them what you're going to tell them. And then you just are very concise in about those three things that you just said. And here's the plan, here's the future goals, here's the resources that I need. And then the third thing, I think this is really important as it even relates to, as it even relates to the being confident piece, is we get so internally focused on how we feel and our own doubts and what are people going to think, and oh my gosh, like if I ask for this then they're going to think that I'm selfish or this, that, and the other thing. I think sometimes what causes a lot of our self-doubt is that we are so self-focused. So I encouraged her, how do you want your leader to feel at the end of this meeting? How do you want them to feel? She said, well, I want them to feel educated on what we're doing, so they feel informed. She goes, I want them to feel, like, I think she said, inspired by what we're doing. I can't remember what her third word was. I think she said, like, seen or heard, that I understand what the organization is going for, and this is how we play a part of it. But she came up with her three words. And this was really helpful to her. And it's always helpful for me because whenever I'm planning a presentation, I always get all nervous and I get all self-doubt. And then I ask myself, how do I want my audience to feel? And when I can start becoming obsessed about how I want my audience to feel, all of a sudden, like, I start to think about them. What do they want to hear? What do they need to know? What do they need to understand? And it makes the meetings a lot more palatable, right? Because I mean, you've been in a meeting where somebody's just rambling off stats and talking about their team, and you're like, why should I even care? Like, why bother? And so I think when you can get really focused and you can think about, how do I want my audience to feel? You kind of start to answer that why bother question. Like, why are they even here? Why are they even sitting across the table from me? And so then you can start to craft a message that's focused on them. And it makes it a much more enjoyable experience for them, because then, you're thinking about what do they need to hear to feel this way? What do they need to see? What information do I need to provide? What do I need to take out? What's just filler? It helps you answer a lot of those sorts of questions. So the last one then is to be confident. And this is easier said than done, because I know, and studies show that like 45% of women are really hesitant to speak up in a virtual environment. I know that 75% of people have fears about public speaking. So I know that this is common. But I also want you to know how common it is to feel nerves when you speak up. But that doesn't need to hold you back. And I think, we can sit there and wait to speak up, to say the things that we need to say until we feel fully confident. But the truth is that I never feel fully confident. I've just learned how to stand up and give a presentation to thousands of people while also feeling imposter feelings, while also feeling doubt, while also feeling nerves. And so I think it's recognizing that you can speak up, You can say the things that need to be said while also feeling doubt. And that doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. A lot of times that doubt is a healthy human emotion that's informing you that you want to do a good job. One of the things that was really helpful for my client, one of the things that was really helpful for me in corporate is remembering that I'm not just there for me. I'm there advocating for the people on my team, for other people that I stand for, and I'm there for a reason. Like I have unique talents and skills that have been promoted for that job. And once I can learn to own those and own the reason why I'm there, it kind of takes that imposter feeling away. It's like, you know what? I may not be as funny of a storyteller as the CFO, and I may not be as charismatic as the CEO, but I am who I am. And these are my strengths. And this is what makes me me. And so I'm not going to try to be anyone else. I'm going to show up as myself. And so when you can show up as yourself and own that and own the gifts that you bring to the situation, it kind of helps you settle down a little bit. And that's what it did for my client. She's like, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm integral to the organization. And so she took that, she practiced it. And at the end of the day, like one of the things that her and I worked on was really knowing your bottom lines. So I said, if you get nervous, you can practice all you want, but you know what? You just really need to show up and be yourself. Memorizing, I think, sometimes hinders it. As I said to her, just know your bottom lines. What are the 3 things that your audience needs to, your leader and your leader's leader need to walk away with? If you can really memorize those bottom lines, it'll help you just be more confident and at ease when you go in there. And at the end of the day, I always tell people the actions of confidence come first and the feelings come later. So sometimes you just have to walk in and start doing the thing before the adrenaline kicks in, and then you start to feel more confident. So what we talked about today was how to deliver a clear message, a concise message in a way that helps people know what you're asking of them and take action on your message and do so with confidence. And so the 4 things that I personally use every time I prep a presentation, I followed this exact same format today. And so you can go back and replay and like observe what I did, was to start with being clear. Be very clear about why we're here, what I'm going to talk about, and what I need at the end, what I'm asking for. And then being concise. Really try to keep it to 3 topics if you have an hour or less, and maybe shrink that number of topics if you have less than an hour. Be client focused. Stop focusing so much on ourselves and what we want to say and the story that we want to tell and all the things we think people should know, but really be obsessed with who your audience is, how you want them to feel. And really answering that question, like, why bother? Why even bother having this conversation? And so when you can focus on, their experience, what they're thinking, the way you want them to feel, you can start to craft a message that's more about them than it is just about rambling on about us. And then they're more likely to take action because they make the connection. They get the whole so what factor. And then the last thing is just to be confident. The actions of confidence come first. The feelings of confidence come second. And so own the reason why you've been hired, those unique skills that you have to offer. You don't need to be more like your charismatic CEO or your funny CFO. You can be more like you and own that gift and that talent that you're bringing to that team. So at the end of the day, if I can just boil it down to 3 simple things, I did this with you all today. You're going to go into the meeting. You're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. You're going to tell them in concise points. And then you're going to tell them what you just told them, which is exactly what I did with you all today. So hopefully this helps you just bring a little more clarity, brevity, and then impact to your message while delivering with confidence. I love talking about this. So if you have more questions that you want me to answer, if you have questions for me, you can definitely send me a message. I would love to hear from you. And I definitely work with women on presenting with more confidence and showing up as their true selves, not some standard definition of executive presence, but really owning their gifts and showing up in a way that's best for them. So if this is something you're interested in, you can definitely learn more about my speaking and coaching programs on my website at kellyraythompson.com, or you can find all sorts of information about me right here on LinkedIn. So, and Ashley has a question. It says here, I'm going to show your question, Ansley. I'm good with the 3 C's, but lack the 4th, confidence. I over prepare and strive for perfection when it comes to physically presenting. I ask for feedback after most of my formal presentations so I can grow. So I would stop striving for perfection. What would it look like for you to strive for connection over perfection. And I want you to really think about that. Okay. Because perfection is an impossible standard. And so I want you to really think about your audience and what would it look like for you to really form a connection with the people that you're with instead of striving for this unattainable. um, and remember, perfection really is void of any vulnerability, which if we get into whole Enneagram 8 stuff, which I kind of know about, right? That's a whole other thing. But I want you to think about connection instead of perfection. And just think about what would be different for you. So that would be my advice. I love these questions. So if y'all are listening live or on replay, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions about all of this, because in 15 years of speaking, of training, if there's a mistake to be made in public speaking, I've probably made it. Or I'm going to be making it very, very soon. So I just know that this is something that we're always testing and learning. So that was an awesome question. I'd love to hear more. And again, you can always pop it in the chat, or you can send me a message behind the scenes. But thanks for coming today. And I will talk to you all again next week.